Yes. I also had Kelsey, who is in San Jose, and she asked, when you began like picking the location and the team and all of that, what made you choose DC and like what went into making the names of the characters? Is that
Oh,
something you knew ahead of time, or it kind of changed throughout the
no.
process?
I don't know what I'm doing in DC. I don't live in DC. I have been to DC. I enjoy DC. I am not from the DC area. So Face Off was the eighth book I wrote, and you meet Maverick actually in a different series, the
Mhm.
Love Through a Lens series, and you meet him in Behind the Camera, which is book three. And that whole series takes place in DC. And book one, which is a novella, was the first book in that series, and I never intended to write a series. It was supposed to be the novella, and that was supposed to be it. And then everyone was like, "Oh, well, what about the Friends?" I was like, "Okay, I'll write book two." And after I published book two, everyone's like, "Well, Dallas, the kicker, because it's a football series, they're like, Dallas is getting a book, right?" I'm like, "Okay, I guess Dallas is getting a book." And then as soon as I sat down to write that book and Maverick was on the as a side character, I was like, "Well, great. Now I have to write Maverick as a book." And then so we're just in DC. And I have no emotional attachment to the city. I will say that once we finish the DC Stars, so six and seven will be this year, eight, the surprise book is next year. We will be leaving the DC area. We are not staying in DC. We're going to Orlando, we're going to Los Angeles, we're going to San Diego, and we're going to New Hampshire for a college series. So we're branching out of the DC area, and we will not see DC for a while.
Yes. Oh my, I can't wait for all of that. It's going to be amazing.
Yeah, and that's part of like the reason, like I'm not just like researching hockey stuff. I'm researching like I'm like, okay, well, how far is it from DC to Baltimore? Because now Emmy's in Baltimore and like with DC, and Grant is
Yeah.
in DC, and in book six, Amelia coaches with she gets a job in Baltimore. And I'm like, okay, what road would they take to get there? And I'm like, what are we doing here? This has nothing to do with the book. But I'm like Googling directions from like Baltimore to DC. How like
Yeah.
what landmarks would they pass?
Are we going to be meeting some NBA players in the future, maybe then?
Yes, you are. So I love Easter eggs, and Liam mentioned a basketball player who, by the name, he has a name with the same first and last letter,
Okay.
kind of like Maverick Miller. And so if you have seen his name, starts with a C. He is a basketball player in Orlando. I think Lexi mentions him too in Hat Trick very briefly. And so there is, yes, the NBA is coming next year. Yeah.
Yes. Well, I was getting ready for this. I did a reread of the series, and now I need to go back and reread it again because I
I
did find a
have
few of your little teasers.
yes,
So,
I have left a lot. I think I have mentioned so in book six, cross check, you're seeing the main character for book eight. So book eight was a surprise. Like Atria was like, "Oh, we want to do another book." I was like, "Okay, great." So the main character of book eight, you see more of in book six. I think it's kind of obvious when you start reading. My beta readers are like, "Okay, we're seeing him. We saw him like once in book one through five, and now we see him like 20 times in book six. This is definitely the male main character." I do mention the female main character of book eight in one line in cross check. I mentioned the title in cross check, and then for the other series. I want to say all of the first books in my next series, like there's like three different series, hockey series, they are all like semi-referenced to in cross-check. So I'm left a lot of little Easter eggs throughout cross-check, but
okay,
for all of
on
them.
June 20th, we need to be on the lookout because you're like the
Yes.
Taylor Swift of authors right now.
And it's really funny because like there's some things that like I made an F1 reference like twice in a book and like everyone was like, "Oh, you're writing an F1 romance." I was like, I don't know anything about F1. I'm sorry. Like that is not happening." But I'm like it's so funny that that's like what people are they see like one line they're like, "Yep, that's going to be a book." I'm like, "Maybe in 2035 if I have time, but not that is not I'm like I promise that is not on the docket for any time soon."
Yes. The F1 world is taking off in the romance world also, I've noticed. I haven't yet to read one, but
Yes, yes, it is. And like I said, I didn't understand a lot about hockey, but I don't know a thing about F1. I can't tell you the difference between F1 and NASCAR. I can't tell you anything about the cars, the drive. Like I know some of the drivers because like people on threads will post about them, but like I
mhm.
like hockey, I'm like, there's three periods. They're on the ice. They can fight. I'm like, had basic knowledge. F1 could not tell you nothing, not a single thing. So
Yes.
that is not happening.
We also had Allison also asked because she knows that you are a flight attendant,
Mhm.
and she was wondering what made you want to become an author, and how do you kind of balance the two out?
So, back up to 2020 when COVID happened, I took a leave of absence from flying because no one really knew what was going on with air travel, what was going on anywhere in the world. So I took a leave of absence. I was fortunate enough to be able to take a leave of absence, and I started reading a lot. I wasn't sleeping. I was anxious. I'm sure we all were during that time. And so I started reading a lot, and I was like, oh, okay, romance. And I read, People We Meet on Vacation by Emily Henry. That was like my first, step back into like reading in the romance world. And then I was like, okay, I could write a book. And reading and writing are two very different things. It's not equivalent at all. And so I published my first book in 2022. And three books in 2022. I want to say four a year after that, but I could be wrong. And which leads to today, 2026. I am currently on a leave of absence from flying. I haven't flown since October 2025, and I don't go back until September 2026. But I do not think I'll be flying anymore, to be honest. That's something I think I will be stepping away from. It's the best job in the world. I love being a flight attendant. I love traveling the world, but my schedule is just too busy right now to balance writing, signings, everything with flying. So I think I will be stepping away come September. But I loved flying, and that's one of the reasons I've kept flying for as long as I have is because I love the job and I love the people I work with, and it's truly like if I ever go back like to like corporate America, I would 100% go and work for the airlines again because I've enjoyed it so much. But it's hard with balancing so many things, and I know how busy I am now, like doing this full time, and there's no way I could spread this while also working like 12 to 15 days a month.
Well, yes, and with two books coming out in 2 months span, and then I'm lucky enough when you come through Des Moines in Iowa, I'm going to be at your stop, so I'm very excited to meet you in
Yay!
person.
Yay! I was just in Des Moines last weekend, and it's a cute little town.
I saw that, and I didn't
Yeah.
even realize because I was like, wait, that's not till July, and then you're coming back. So,
Yeah, I know. I told Sarah who owns Shelf Love, who I was at the bookstore for Ali Sambert's latest release, and then for In Stormy Weather. I'm like, I've never been to Des Moines, and now I'm going twice in a month. That tracks, you know.
yes, yes. Let's see, what else do we have here? So I have a question. It's from Tori, who's on.
Mhm.
And she has heard a lot of authors that talk about characters kind of taking on a life of their own while you're writing.
Mhm.
And she's wondering if that happened with anyone on in Face Off,
Mhm.
or was there a moment that Emmy or Maverick or one of the other characters, like their choice surprised you and kind of changed the direction of your story?
Not really. So when I first wrote Maverick and Behind the Camera, literally the second I put him on the paper, I was like, okay, he's gonna have to have his own book. And I knew what kind of character he was in Behind the Camera, and I knew what kind of woman I wanted him paired with. I wanted him paired with a woman who didn't fall for his charm, wasn't interested in, what everyone else was interested in, and like just wanted to play hockey and didn't care about the captain who was obsessed with her. And so those two characters, like I had very firmly in my mind of who I wanted them to be. I knew exactly what their dynamic was going to be. When I first was thinking of the plot for Face Off, I was like, okay, he's obviously the hockey player. I couldn't change that because that's what he was in Behind the Camera. And
Mm-hmm.
I was like, so I need her to do something with the team or something because they need to be around each other a lot. In sports romance, it only works because of the forced proximity, because they're around each other as much as they are. And so, excuse me. So I was like, okay, she's got to work for the team in some capacity. And I'm like, well, would a social media girl like really not fawn over this like NHL superstar, who's like cocky and smiling at them? And I'm like, no, okay, so she can't be like, she has to be like a badass. Like she has to be a character like that. And so I was like, fuck it, we're just going to put her in the NHL. And I was very nervous to do that because obviously romance books are fiction, but there is a line within books where it's like, okay, now we've gone too far past believability. Especially like romantasy, I feel like whatever, you can do whatever in romantasy, but like romance novels, it's a little harder because it's contemporary, it's kind of real life adjacent. And
Mhm.
so I was like, okay, we're gonna put her in the NHL and we're gonna see how it goes. But from the moment I started writing Face Off, I was like, this is something special. And I've only felt that. So I've written 16 books, I think, and I've only felt that four times. Face Off, Hat Trick, In Stormy Weather, and then with Crosscheck. Like those are the four. I've loved everything I've written. I've loved every book
Mhm.
I've put out, but there's those four books. Like I get genuine, I'm like, there's joy when I think about them and I think about the characters. And I just think they're very, very special. And I think it's because the characters kind of took on a life of their own and kind of manifested into these things. And I know they're fictional. I don't like walk around thinking that they're real people or anything, but you spend so much time with them, like they feel like your friends or like people you know. And with like Crosscheck is the first book I've written with a third act breakup. But so I was like, oh my God, I don't want to pull them apart. Like this hurts. Like I feel so bad, like ripping these two people apart. But I'm like, I have to for the story. And so, but then everything works out. And so I'm like, yay. Like, I'm like, I wrote this, but I'm so excited this worked out. But yeah, I mean, they do take on a life of their own and they kind of just become these entities that then you get to live with for 7 or 8 books down the road.
Yes, I can't wait for Grant's story because I need to know what's in the notebook.
You find out very quickly what's in the notebook. Yeah.
I'm very excited for that.
Yeah.
Um, we've got a question from Avneet, and she's actually from Perth, Australia. She wasn't able to join.
Nice.
We had a 3 hour exam today.
Oh
So,
gosh.
but she was wondering which of the characters from the series was the hardest or the most complex for you to actually write for.
Riley, because eh, he goes through something very traumatic and emotional.
Mhm.
I feel like it's not a spoiler because it's on the front cover of Hat Trick, but he does lose his leg in chapter like 2 or 3, chapter 2 maybe,
Mhm.
of the book. And so for 3 other books, he was like this nice guy, like friendly, joking. Like you didn't see him a lot, but like you kind of like understood like he was a nice, quiet, a good guy. And then he goes through this traumatic experience, and then all of a sudden he's like hates the world. He doesn't want to talk to anybody. He doesn't want anyone to help him. He doesn't want anything to do with life. And so it was
Mhm.
really hard to like go with the roller coaster of, okay, they just won the Stanley Cup. Yay. Okay, now he loses his leg and now he's going through like therapy and rehab and all of that. And then like finally like with Lexi like he goes back on, the up and being happier and all of that. But it was hard to write that and it was also hard to write a character who loses a limb. My mom lost her leg before I was born, so she has had a prosthetic leg my entire life. And so I really,
Mhm.
I asked her questions about it, like the driving scene. I asked her, I'm like, okay, so when you relearned how to drive, talk me through that. And she's like, oh, well, I could have gotten the pedal, but I didn't want it to be different. I didn't want to seem different. So I just learned to drive with my left foot. And that's where that
Mhm.
scene came from, is through a conversation with her. And so it's one of those things where because of the subject matter, I also want to make sure I'm like doing justice to the character of what they deserve. And so his was really hard emotionally and just wanting to rehab and the journey that would be, while also about grief and like therapy and mental health because he just lost the one thing he loves the most in the world. And then for book 7, which is Ethan, I've said it, it's not really a spoiler, but it's accidental pregnancy, and I am child free. We don't have children, and so like that's pushing me a little bit to kind of step out of my comfort zone with writing that because that's not something I will ever experience, myself. But that's why I have very good beta readers who give me really good feedback and who can help with those scenarios where I'm like, and I've had this like when writing like single dad romances, like my beta readers will be like, that is way too mature of a conversation for a 5-year-old. I'm like, okay, delete. They'll just sit there and smile then. I don't know what a 5-year-old sounds like. So having people who can be like, that's not right, like before it goes out into the world is very helpful.
Yeah, it's funny that you bring up the car scene from Hat Trick because I've read
Mhm.
that book twice now, and both times that scene had me laughing so hard that I had tears rolling down my
Yeah.
face. It was so funny. They're hilarious in it, but it's such just like a heartwarming moment between the
Yeah.
characters.
Yeah.
And it kind of leads me to my next question as to what your favorite scene from any of the books has been to actually write, without giving any spoilers away, because we have people at different, very like different parts of the series.
Okay, so I will say face off. The scene that I had for any other scene in the book was when he shows up in her jersey to Heroes and Legends Night. I had that pretty much when I decided she was going to be in the NHL. That scene was, I was like, he's got to wear her jersey because we see so
Mhm.
many romance novels where she wears his jersey, somehow climbs over the glass, gets on the ice, makes sense. But I'm like, no, like he's going to wear her jersey. And that was inspired by the men in the NBA wearing the WNBA sweatshirt, Kobe sitting courtside wearing the WNBA sweatshirt. So the NBA has always been very progressive, and they were kind of the first league to like show solidarity with their women counterparts. And I'm like, okay, well, this is not far-fetched because there are professional athletes who are doing this. And then there's what is he? I want to say she plays in the PWHL and her husband or boyfriend, why do I want to say football? But he shows up in her jersey all the time. And I'm like, thank you. Like this is a real thing that could happen. So that was the scene that I love the most out of that power play. The wedding ring scene, I'll leave it at that on the ice. And the funny
Yes.
thing about writing Crosscheck is it takes place over 7 seasons, so we relive these little moments throughout the series. And there's a text message exchange between Amelia and Grant where she's like, "What the hell were you all doing on the ice last night?" And he's like, "Oh yeah, we were looking for a wedding ring. Like it's fine." And she's like, "What?" Slapshot when he learns ASL for Madeline,
Hmm.
and Patrick the driving scene. Simbin, hmm. I like when he shows up to Brody shows up to Hannah's competition unexpectedly. And she's like all happy about it. Cross check. Mm. There's a lot in cross check. Grant is such a little lover boy, and I really think he might be people's favorite out of the series. He's just so obsessed, and he's such a little feminist, and he's like, I will do anything for you. Like, let me change my last name. He's just such a little cutie. So that, and then I won't say anything about the last two books yet, but 1 through 5, those are my top scenes. But of
Those,
everything I've written, Maverick wearing Emmy's jersey is probably like that's the top right there.
yes. Oh
Yeah.
my goodness. There are so many great scenes from all of the books, so it's fun to hear your favorites. Um, I have another question from Tori in Oklahoma, and she was wondering if there's anything that you had to cut out of Face Off that you are kind of bummed you had to take out and wish you could maybe put back in, or
Well, I just posted about this on Threads today, that I've had to
okay.
cut a lot of stuff out of Crosscheck. It is going to be the longest book by a mile. A, because it takes place over so many years, and B, because of the relationship between the two characters. It needs to be a long book to kind of, the dynamic between them. But I have had to cut a lot of like book club scenes and team dinners because it like while I love that, and this is the same for every book I've written, while I love that, it's like not moving the story forward. And my beta readers are like, I don't think we need a fourth book club scene in like 20 chapters. And I'm like, oh, fine, I'll get rid of it. And so I said, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do like a from the vault little thing, and I'm just gonna do like all these bonus chapters that I had written that did not make the final cut because there's a lot of them and they're fun, and it's just the boys having a good time and enjoying each other. And that's something that I've kind of tried to do is like, yeah, the women have strong friendships, but like I'm also not afraid to show the men like being emotional and vulnerable with each other and crying and and I feel like in each book there's a moment where the guys show up for the
Yeah.
other guys, you know. So like, you know, face off like with the trade. Like I know it was a little bit of like Hudson and the other characters, but like still like that and like the wedding ring and power play and in Crash Check, there's a really big moment where all the boys are there multiple times. But I think it's really important to like include those moments. And so that's why I write so many of those little scenes that like it may not be moving the plot forward, but I think it's important in a culture like sports culture, especially around men, tends to be very toxic. We're seeing it right
Mhm.
now, the Stanley Cup, everything happening you know, with Vegas. And it's one of those things where I would love to see more, and I don't care if it's realistic. But
Yeah.
with the San Jose Sharks, like you see Macklin and Will, like their friendship, and it makes me really mad when people start being like, oh, kiss, oh, they love each other. I'm like, no, like men are allowed to be affectionate with their friends and it not mean anything besides like, I love you, thank you for being there for me, you know? And that's like a whole
Mhm.
other thing that we could talk about. But I love that we're seeing more of that, especially with like younger athletes in real life, and they're not afraid to like express that vulnerability with their friends and with each other. And I think that's really important as we continue down the professional sports world.
Yeah. I feel like the scenes when you have the book clubs, and I think it was in Hat Trick where the boys come together for Riley when he's concerned about like figuring out Lexi and they pull out the bulletin board and the
Yes.
whiteboard and
Yes.
it's just, it makes them so like they become people to you when you're
Yeah.
reading in those scenes, and your text banter is always my favorite part. There's
Yeah.
never a Liam left the chat that doesn't make me laugh.
Yes. Yeah. He leaves the chat a lot in cross check too. Like he leaves all the time. He's like, please don't add me back to the chat. And of course he gets added back.
Well, of course.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, we were wondering, there's so many amazing books that are currently being adapted to television.
Mhm.
And we were wondering which ones are you most excited to see? And if you were ever approached, could we see the DC stars kind of brought to TV at some point?
I would love that so much. And this kind of goes back to showing men in male athletes in a positive light because we need more of that. Like I've only watched one episode of Off Campus. I haven't had a chance to watch the rest because I have 19 million things happening. But I watched one episode and I like right off the bat, I was like, this is going to be amazing. The adaptation. Um, because you know we see the yearning, we see like the men being friends, we see the strong female friendships where they're not going at each other and like not calling each other puck bunnies or whatever. Like they're all just, you know, get along. And so I love this surge of romance. Like I can't wait for the Love Hypothesis. I'm so excited for the Love Hypothesis. I'm like, when are we getting a release date? What is going on? Like all this other
I,
stuff. I know Every Summer After just came out, I think today.
yeah,
And I haven't watched People We Meet on Vacation yet. But it blows my mind that like people are just now realizing that romance is so popular and people who read
mhm,
romance books are going to watch the adaptions, and even if they don't read romance books they're going to watch the adaptions. Like
yeah,
30 million people watched Off Campus in the first like 3 days or whatever. Like that is like mind blowing to me that like people care about these representations. And like it would be such a dream for the DC stars to come to life. I would love it. People ask me who I would fan cast. I have no clue because I don't know actors. I have no clue who anybody is. I cannot answer that. People are like, "Oh, what NHL player?" I'm like, I don't base these people in real life. I don't
mhm.
know. Like the guy who plays for the Islanders, what's his name? Matt
Bo
Barzal.
Barzell.
He is kind of who I see Maverick as, like, but like that's the only person I've been like, yeah, maybe that could be who I see. But like I don't watch enough TV or movies to like know who to cast. And then I think of like Beach Read, the male cast, the guy was cast and everyone's all up in arms, like maybe I don't want my books adapted because I don't want people to be so mad at who's cast. But that would probably be the thing though. I feel like if that were ever to happen, and I understand that like you have to give over control, but there would be like non-negotiables, like certain scenes that I would have to see play out
Mhm.
on the screen. Like you couldn't cut the jersey wearing scene from Face Off. Like that can't, like that would have to be
Yeah.
in there. And that would be something that I would be like, that's in there or nothing's in there kind of thing, you know? But that it's such a dream. And, maybe one day with all, these series getting adapted and picked up, fingers crossed, but we'll see.
Well, we'll start.
Windy City series too. I'm excited to see how they do that. And Elsie's all three of her series got picked up, Elsie Silver. So that will be really cool to see those too.
Yeah, I feel like we need to start tagging like at Prime and Hulu for you.
That would be
We'll-
really, really, really nice. I feel like it would have to be like HBO Max though, because like
yeah,
I feel like there is a lot of explicit content in the DC stars, and I feel like a lot of it's integral to the plot. And like, I'm not saying I need to see porn on my television, but like, I would love to see that play out and to show the progression of character development, especially like Face Off, where it's no strings attached, and then they obviously get attached. But yeah, maybe one day. Who knows? That's
Prime
the dream.
surprised me. Prime went farther than I thought because
They
I've watched
did.
all of them.
They
So I
did.
was
Yeah.
surprised. They did a great job with that. So
Yeah.
let's see. We also had what books or series are at the top of your favorites list that you will always recommend? And then what books did you kind of read growing up that maybe made you want to become a writer or that got you into the certain genre that you write in?
The downside about being an author is I read a whole lot less than I was reading before. I am reading literally like 3 books a month, but I will tell you the authors that I will always gravitate toward. I love Megan Quinn. I think she does banter so well. Her books are always a good time. I love Peyton Curran. Peyton Curran's my girl. Angsty college romance. In the same vein of angst is Kennedy Ryan. I read, Long Shot by her, the first book in the Hoop series, and I was like, what the fuck is going on? I didn't read the trigger warnings. I was like, oh, a basketball romance. I was like, oh my God, okay. But oh, I loved it. And I'm trying to see, I love Anna Wong, and I know she has a sports series out now with the striker, the defender, Kenny Steiner. I love Kenny Steiner. I love Blindside, fantastic fake dating college romance. I'm looking over here because my shelf is over here. I'm not just like staring into the oblivion. My God, I have so many. Stephanie Archer, Liz Tom 40. Hold on, I'm like missing like so many people. Um, Val Cabra, College Romance, Maren Moore. I'll read pretty much anything, to be honest. I will pick up any kind of book. I I do love sports romance, but it's also hard to read sports romance when I'm writing sports romance because then I'm like, okay, do I need to add that? Or like, would I add, and then it starts to be like thinking too much. But as far as growing up, I did read a lot as a kid. I stopped reading kind of in that high school, like college phase because I was doing so much reading for school.
Mhm.
Back then I am a kid of the 90s, so I grew up with Harry Potter at the time. Not anymore with J.K. Rowling, but I grew up with Harry Potter and just loved it and loved the immersive world. And I've always thought about maybe trying fantasy romantasy, but I can barely keep sports straight. Like I can't even remember the name of the frickin' arena between two two books. I'm like, how would I keep track of like 97 characters? I don't know if that's possible. I named Riley and Piper have the same last name because I messed up and I was like, okay, well, cool. Now two characters have the same last name. That's great. Yeah, so I don't know if that would ever happen, but yeah, I'll read anything, everything. But yeah, like I said, I read a lot less now than I did when I was not writing because there's a lot. Like at the end of the day, I'm like, I just want to scroll through my phone. I'm trying to get better. I'm like, I just want to scroll through my phone. Haven't looked at my phone all day when I've been on my phone for like hours. So I'm trying to get better about putting the phone down and reading because I have so many books on my shelves. I'm like, I'm never going to be able to get to all these, and it's kind of depressing if we're being honest.
I feel like so many are coming out in TVs and stuff that's slowing down my reading because I'm like, I gotta watch them too.
I know, and I'm like, I think this back half of the year is going to be busy too with other announcements and that sort of thing. And yeah, I'm like, can someone just tell me the Love Hypothesis date, please? Anybody?
We need a
Anybody? Someone said
trailer.
they think Ali teased it in a newsletter, and said like October, so we'll see. But I'm like counting down the minutes, like just give it to me. I'm ready. More
Exactly.
adaptions.
I also have another question from Avneet in Australia. She was wondering because she says your books were just made available in Australia this past month, and she
Yep.
was wondering with the upcoming releases of the editions, will it be the indie covers or will they be put out in the new kind of design that just came out for traditional?
So, publishing is very interesting, and every country is different. And Australia falls under the Commonwealth with UK. My UK publisher picked up 1 through 4. And so after Hat Trick, everything else is indie published for now. So Crosscheck, Weekside will both be indie published. And then in the US, 1 through 5 were picked up. And then an eighth book, which is a novella. It's not going to be a novella, it's going to be a full-length book. Was picked up by Atria. So right now, 6 and 7 are staying indie, but maybe they'll pick them up. I don't know. And that's kind of how it is right now. And if people keep buying them, then they'll keep buying them from me. So we'll see. But so 1 through 4 only in Australia, and then 5 is already indie and it's out, and then 6 and 7 will be both indie releases.
Okay. Yes. Well, we're excited about those. I have my indie ones behind me.
I know,
So
I see them. They're so cute.
so let's see. We've only got a few more questions, and we also, at the end of this, have a fun drawing for everyone that's on it, so that you can
Ooh.
get a Amazon gift card to get Chelsea's book and add to your TBR. So, let's see here. So we've got Grant and Amelia come out here in about a week now.
Yeah.
What are you most excited for the readers to experience in this book?
So with Emmy, we kind of saw her like as like the female in the NHL, but
Mhm.
Amelia is very much a fuck the patriarchy and like fuck every man who's ever wronged me kind of thing. And Grant's like, yeah, fuck every man who's done anything wrong, like, and he's very much like let's take the whole league down kind of thing. So they're kind of reminiscent of Maverick and Emmy a little bit, but by the time they get together, it's been so long. It's literally been like 4 years of like friendship and then like feelings that once they're together until they're not. And so this has been a very different book for me to write because they're not together for so long, but then they get together and they stay together. And then they break up, which is the first breakup and only breakup in the DC Stars series, which is a little weird, but I do think it is necessary. And then they get together again at the end. So it's a little bit of a roller coaster emotionally, and it's a slow burn, but then like when we get to it, it's like that's it. There's no games, like they're very honest. There's a lot of communication, like this is what I want. So you do see a lot of them in the relationship, and not like they're happy for probably like they're a couple for at least a quarter of the book, maybe a
Mhm.
little bit more. And then unfortunately they break up for a little bit. So it's kind of like and it feels very fun to write this at a time where there's so much attention on the NHL in real life and
Mhm.
women who are just kind of sick of the bullshit that the NHL is pulling lately,
Mhm.
and the fans. And so it's been kind of fun to like write that, and it's very much like a death to misogyny kind of thing. And like she's such a badass, and they like skate on the ice together, and he, shows up at her game, and she shows up at his, and she's an assistant coach, and then she's a head coach, and that kind of progression, and how the whole time he's supportive of her. He never, and her thing is kind of like she doesn't date because she doesn't want to have to dull her success for anybody, knowing that she has this platform.
Mhm.
And she also is just wary of anyone who like is nice to her because she's like, well, what do you want? Kind of thing.
Mhm.
And so she's really like not about that, any personal relationships. And he just kind of sneaks his way in and stays there. And like I said, he's so obsessed with her. He loves her so much. And I think that's important for a woman in her position to be surrounded by a man who is not afraid of her success and the power she has and
Mhm.
does what he can to uplift her and use his platform to call out the unfair consequences that they both experience and the difference in how the punishment is handled because she's a woman, because he's a man.
Mhm.
And so he's very much like that. But yeah, like I said, so we go through all the other DC Stars books. So we see Emmy on the team, we see Liam and Piper, we see him taking sign language classes with Hudson. We have to relive Riley's accident one more time. It's really sad. I know this is the last time. And it's really, really this one probably Sinbad was rough, but this is really like Grant's really broken. And that's kind of the pivotal moment in their relationship is Riley's accident and kind of like she takes care of him in the aftermath. And it's letting men be soft and vulnerable and I love it very, very much. And if I had to like compare, I would say Grant is very much in the Maverick Riley kind of vein, of as far as yearning and um loving and just being so obsessed. Like he saw her 7 years ago and he's like, yep, no one else, I'm good, thanks. Don't need anybody else. He's a little
Well,
love
I
boy.
can't wait for it to come out. I will be downloading it on my Kindle the day that it comes out and probably ordering it as well because I need the shelf trophy. So
I know.
we cannot wait
Oh,
for that.
orange.
Yes. Yeah, I love the color design. They always match so good. So
I know, and we were
um,
talking about what to do for book 8, and I gave a suggestion. I hope we go with this suggestion because I think it would look really good with all the other books. So we'll see.
I we can't wait to see. So
Yeah.
um, I think what we should do is if everyone wants to maybe turn on their cameras if you don't have it on, and we could do a quick screenshot of everyone holding up their book with Chelsea. Um, I'm gonna get it ready on my computer here. Let's see.
I'm gonna hold up my bedazzled one. Someone bedazzled me a pretty
Oh,
face off.
fancy. Okay,
Yeah.
so let's see if we can make sure everyone has theirs. There we go. Okay. Okay, I think we've got everyone. Okay, everyone ready? Okay, I think I got it. Let me just. Okay, I did get it, and I will be sure to post that. So keep your eyes out
Yay.
for that. Chelsea, I can't thank you enough for joining us and for being a part of our first ever book club.
Thank you so much for having me.
It is definitely something that we're going to continue, and I know that some of us have read your entire series, and will some of us are in the middle of it. So, and we can't
Yay.
wait to see what the future holds for the series as well.
Lots of exciting things. I feel very lucky and happy to come chat anytime. Like I said, I love yapping, so I'll talk
Yes.
about anything and everything.
Well, we will. We may have to do in stormy weather next. Then get
Yes.
into a whole new world of meteorologists. So,
July 14th. And I will say, if you've read Face Off, there's a very small nod to Maverick Miller in Stormy Weather.
oh, I'm so excited. I already have that one on my list as well. So,
I also am like really tempted to write a bonus scene because they, Maverick and Sebastian actually meet.
mhm.
In it is canon that they meet. Sebastian's too drunk, he doesn't realize it. But I really want to write a bonus scene of the two of them meeting because of where they meet, and it would be obvious once you read it, because they would literally just spend the whole time talking about how much they love their other halves, and I'm like, that would be a little cute little bonus scene, is them just being like, oh yeah, yeah, my girl's a badass. Oh yeah, my girl's a badass too, because they're very, very similar. Maverick and Sebastian are very. If you liked Maverick, you're gonna like Sebastian.
Well, it was funny when I was rereading Hat Trick. I think it was Hat Trick, and I sent it to you. But I was like,
Mhm.
"You're mentioning a meteorologist here." I'm like,
Yep.
"This has to be one of your Easter eggs."
And if you want to go real deep, Road Trip to Forever, which published in 2023, they go on a road trip to Florida to see the female main character's favorite author, who's a romance author who you meet in Stormy Weather.
Okay.
Will
Well,
be
you
book
have been
2.
planting little seeds for years.
Very long time. Yes, I got like a whole web happening.
Yes.
It was a
Well, we
lot.
can't. great. And we just so appreciate you taking the time out of your day to come and join us. So
Of
thank you
course.
so much.
Thank you. I really appreciate it.
Yes. Thank you. And we can really quickly do the drawing. So what I'm going to do is I have my Sharks bucket hat here with everyone's name in it.
I love a bucket
And
hat.
I will pull a name and show you guys, and then I'll be in touch with that person via Messenger, and we can get everything sorted out for the gift card. So I got to make it viewable here. So the winner is
Dun dun dun.
Britt. Are you on here? Gift Guild by Britt
Yay!
wins.
Oh, hey, yes, I am.
Yes, so you are going, I will be in touch with you and we will get, I think it'll be an e-gift card. So you can get some Chelsea books and build up your TBR. So
I'm gonna
And
use it to buy a cross check.
if you get Britt's information, send it to my PA like address. I can send you some of the special edition copies too of.
oh,
Thank
yay.
you.
Well, thank you so much,
Of
Chelsea.
course, of
I will
course.
absolutely be in touch with Britt and then I will send that over.
Perfect. Thanks for having me, y'all. Appreciate it.
Thanks.
Yes, thank you all for joining and making this such a special first book club. And we will definitely be doing more of these, so keep an eye on the chat. I think for the next one, we will take recommendations and maybe do a poll to see what book we'll be reading next. So,
Thanks for organizing, Emily.
oh, thank you. I'm just glad everyone could join, and we'll see you at the next one.